All right, guys, we're going on a little road trip today. I'm taking y'all to my lake house. We're going to review a metal detector. No, don't be rolling your eyes. I know what you're thinking. Sponsored video, blah, 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 but there's no strings attached. It'll be legit. So we'll see you out there. All right, what we have is the Dr. Otek MT-XR. Now, so what they're doing now is you can get these in colors. So if you want to be color coordinated when you metal detect, they got you covered. So we're going to see what's in here. Now there's multiple reviews on YouTube, and there's ratings and comments on the e-commerce sites. So we're going into this with the pre-notion that these are a decent entry-level machine. No one's trying to compare these to an Equinox or an Apex or a Legend. The general consensus is these are just a decent entry-level machine. So we're going to see what's in the box. We're going to put this thing together. We're going to do a little air testing, and then we're going to actually do some metal detecting in the lake house yard, because I realized I don't think we've ever detected my yard here. We always stick to the beach and in the lake. All right, so we got, it comes with a battery. Get it started. And we got our thank you card and our instructions. This is what I wanted to see. See how clear these are. And I'm thinking already these look really good. All right, we had to move this operation inside. Texas gave us a random thunderstorm like normal. And we pulled everything out of the box. I think you guys know how to take stuff out of a box. So to save time, we've got it laid out here. It was packed well, as you saw in the first clip. It comes with a carrying case, which is pretty cool. You get the case with it. Also, you're getting a digger with this machine, and it is a decent digger. I mean, it's really a nice digger. I've seen a lot of beginners, they'll get a trowel from Home Depot or something. Those things do not work. They're going to bend. This thing, starting out, you need a good digger. You don't want to get discouraged trying to dig stuff with a bad digger. The name of the game when you're starting out is to stay motivated. Don't get discouraged, because then you're going to end up putting this thing in the closet and you're not going to use it. But as long as things are easy for you to dig, easy for you to pinpoint and find stuff, you'll stay motivated and you'll stick with this. So we're going to assume that the beginners are watching this, like you're trying to either get into metal detecting or you're just beginning. And we're going to show you how this thing goes together. It's straightforward. We're not going to use the instructions because, you know, we're guys. We don't use instructions. So this is your middle shaft, or some call it the upper, but this is really the upper. We're going to loosen the cam lock. I'm going to get this one started. Just pick an adjustment, lock it down. Yep. All right, so now that we got our middle shaft and our lower shaft together, we're going to put on the upper shaft, which will end up being the armrest and will hold the control housing. So we're going to make this easy, we're going to go ahead and take this cam lock off and squeeze your buttons, get them started, and they are going to lock into this hole right here, just like that. Guess what? Forgot something. It's going to have to go on here first. There we go. All right, so we're going to get this thing locked in. I'm going to tighten up our cam lock. And it looks like the next is going to be the short arm cuff piece. Go in just like that. And then we're going to put our arm cuff on. So you're going to have 3 different adjustments. You got 3 holes to choose from depending on where your forearm falls. So we're going to get the arm cuff on. I'm going to use the middle for me. One nut holds this whole thing on. Next, we're going to put the control housing on after this arm cuff, and it looks like they sent us one of the new yellow ones, so that's pretty cool. So let's go with the control housing. Same thing with the arm cuff. It just goes in the only 2 holes available for it. These are some really long-winded bolts here. I already put the battery in this, and it did come with a screen protector. Not one you would use. It's the one you peel off when you're putting stuff like this together. So we already peeled that off. So you'll want to do that too. Don't forget and leave that on and think it has a hazy screen, because, you know, I've done that before with VCRs and stuff. Back in the day when there was VCRs. Alright, now one thing I want y'all to do when y'all are putting your machine together, let me back this out and show y'all real quick. These are very fine thread bolts, and the inserts are brass, so you need to make sure that these just glide right in. If you feel any resistance, don't start forcing that in, because it will cross thread on these types of connections. So if it's turning freely, you're home free, you're ready to go. So we're going to get these tightened up, and then we're going to put the coil on, and we're going to fire this baby up and do some air testing, learn some VDI numbers. All right. Now once we get to this coil, I want you all to see something. It's something I learned a long time ago when I first started detecting. The old timer showed it to me. And I see people make this mistake a lot when they're putting their coils on. So we got our coil bolts. Just kind of work it in there. That through there. And remember, these are plastic too, so you don't want to cross thread these either. This, by the way, is a 10-inch coil. It's waterproof. The control housing on this metal detector is not waterproof. Do not submerge the control housing, but this coil is definitely waterproof, so you can do some shallow water hunting. Now, what I was always taught, and I see a lot of people not do it, is when you start winding your coil wire on this lower and middle shaft, always start your first turn going over the rod. Don't loop it under, because if you get slack in it and it just happens to start drooping down here, you might get some falsing. You want to at least start it going over the top, just like that. And you don't want a lot of slack in your wire. There's no point in it. You just keep enough right here so your coil can bend. So we're going to push this down a smidgen, just like that. Make sure you got some, you don't want to stress your strain relief. You want some play in this coil, but not so much that you got droopy wires. So just make sure it's got some movement, some room to move. And then you don't want to get this too awful tight either up here. It's kind of a happy medium. We're just going to bring this up and get it plugged in. Figure out which way this plug goes. Probably should have put my glasses on for this. All right, no big deal. There we go. So here is your MT-XR in yellow. So we're going to fire this thing up. We got some test strips. We're going to do a little air testing. I think it stopped raining. We might take it back outside. It's probably a little dark in this lake house. All right, guys, let me show you these headphones real quick. They are super nice. Got the volume on them, so they are volume controlled. We're not going to use them, obviously, so y'all can hear what's going on. So now we're going to do some air tests. Now, most all these machines these days, they get reasonable depth. We're not really worried about depth. We know we're going to get, you know, 6-7 inches on a quarter and whatnot. We will test that, but what I'm really interested in is the VDI numbers, or your target ID numbers. In your instruction manual, you will have a chart that kind of tells you where certain metals are going to fall in the spectrum. And to turn this machine on, it's power. You will have 3 volume settings. 1, 2, 3. And on the mode, probably need to get off a metal table, but all right, so now we're going to do a little air testing. We got it over here on the steps. That metal table doesn't set it off. So we're going to go through the operation of this thing. It's very basic. It's easy to remember. Nothing hard about it. So we got our volume, and our power buttons are kind of together, but they are toggled separate. So we're going to turn it on, power. And your backlight, we're going to go ahead and turn that on, that's a nice feature for an entry-level machine, is having backlight. We're going to go ahead and turn that on so it'll help y'all see in the camera when we start air testing. So your volume knob is also your backlight. You just push and hold. And now you should be able to see a lot better. Now when you set the volume, you got like 3 volume levels. It's not like you can just go up and then come back down. Just 3 levels, that's it. So we're going to go on medium. Your modes, you cycle through the modes with the mode button. So you'll have a memory mode. This is where you'll pick one metal that you like and scan it, and it'll remember it, and then that's all it's going to pick up. So you might want to use something like that, say in a club hunt or a competition hunt where you already know what the tokens are. You could scan that, and then this metal detector will only pick those up. You got jewelry mode, which finds everything, but it turns off the iron. You have all metal. I'm an all metal mode hunter. That's how I hunt. This is going to get everything. And then you have a discrimination mode. This is where you can block out your target ranges that you choose not to find, that you can discriminate them out. And the way you do that is with the plus and the minus. So you're taking out blocks of 10 on this on the metal, on what metals fall in these blocks. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and set this on discriminate, because we're not going to do any nails or anything. So in this day and age, most of these metal detectors get decent depth, so we're not really worried about an air test for depth, although I'll show you it gets plenty of depth. What I'm more interested in is the target ID numbers. So what we're going to do, we got all these sticks I made up a long time ago. We got silver quarters, silver dimes, then we got clad quarters, clad dimes. We got the old zinc penny, we got copper pennies. So let's just scan a few of these and see what we get on the target ID. I'm not going to be able to see that, I don't think, but our trusty cameraman can show y'all what's happening. So we're going to go with a silver quarter first, a silver Washington. And that reads 90. Well, that's about par for the course for most of even the higher end machines that go to 1:99 on the resolution. That's going to be accurate. So now we're going to switch to a clad quarter, see if it can tell the difference. And it actually does. That's really good resolution. I'm impressed with that, because you're going to be able to tell the difference between clad and silver. So let's see the difference between a copper penny. which is an 81, and a zinc penny. That's really good resolution, because you'll be able to tell if you're about to dig a good copper penny or one of the throwaway zincs. Let's take a look at the depth on these, even though it's not super critical, because we already know these things are going to get halfway decent depth. So what we're going to do is we're going to go with a dime and just see how far we can get. So you're looking at, you know, 6 inches. One thing we can do is we can set our sensitivity a little higher if we can get away with it. So when you hit your sensitivity button, this is going to be it. You got 3. You hit sensitivity and dial this thing up. Now I got it on max, and you can already tell it's already picking up nails in this deck. So let's go ahead and see how. So when you get your sensitivity too high, if you're in like the city and you're hunting under power lines and stuff, you're gonna have to dial that back. So you just hit sensitivity. That turns on this graph right here. We've got kind of a glare. There we go. So we're gonna dial this back some. So you're gonna lose some depth, but sometimes that's what it takes if you're hunting under power lines or near radio towers and stuff. All right, so with basic operation out of the way, we're gonna do a little hunting. And the reason why we came to the lake house is because over the years, all the machines I've used here and all the times I've detected, we've always been in the water or we've been on the beach, which we normally don't have a beach, but we're in drought conditions, so the beach is exposed. And so when you come out here, we ended up staying out there, and I realized we've never done the yard, so there's got to be a few coins so we can run this through the paces here in the yard and see if we can actually dig up some stuff with it. So one thing I want to point out on these entry-level machines is they false a little easier than like a higher-end machine. So you don't want to be banging the coil into stuff. I mean, it's pretty stable. You can shake it without getting falsing, but you can, if you're not careful, if you start flexing that coil, you can get some falsing. And then if you don't get your wire plugged in good, it'll false. So make sure you're plugged in good up here, because you don't want this getting loose, because you'll start getting some falsing there. So if you swing this smooth, don't be banging on stuff, you should be okay. Now these, without getting too in depth, I'm a stickler for recovery speed on these higher end machines. These are not going to have that kind of speed. So you're going to have to slow down your swing. You can't be flying through there. So we're just going to slow down our swing, and we're going to listen for some higher tones. And I'm not going to use the digger they gave me, because I'm lazy. I'm going to use a long handle. So when we get a signal, I'm going to get my long handle, and we're going to dig these signals up, whatever we can find, and just run this with a test in real life, a real life test right here in the yard. So you're getting some low tones in there. This is a 3-tone machine, which is pretty cool. All right, so we got a 74 in here. Yep, that's a solid 74. So remember on your target ID numbers, that was like a zinc penny. So maybe this could be like a zinc penny or something. Now, let me show y'all pinpoint. On this machine, you push pinpoint to put it in pinpoint mode and let off. You don't hold it down like the older machine. So now we're in pinpoint mode. See the pinpoints flashing. So your loudest point, it should be in the middle of this search coil. So it should be right here. So, like I said, I'm going to use my digger instead of the one that came with it because I'm get too old to bend down. So we'll just open this plug up and see what we found. Ain't gonna hurt to dig up the yard. We got armadillos tearing everything up. All right, they make a pinpointer. Dr. Otek makes one. They didn't send me one. We're just gonna use my Garrett carrot to figure out where this is. So we're already getting some pretty good depth because that's still in the hole, whatever this is. All right, so it's not a penny, but what we do have is a clasp for like a dog collar, dog leash. So that was the 76, and we got some pretty good depth. Let's check it out here. So you're looking at 3 1/4 inches or so. Not too bad. That was a nice clean signal. Not a lot of chatter going on around it, just a good solid tone, which is what I like. All right, let's see if we can't locate some other targets. All right, so we got some iron in here. So if our VD number, I call them VDI numbers, your target ID numbers. This is going to be a low conductor, so we're not going to dig it right now for the sake of getting this video done, but most likely, because it's not giving us a, we're getting 2 different tones here. So on the higher end machines, that's usually when you're starting to get crumpled up metal and stuff. Now we're getting it down around 18, which is bottle cap or nail. Kind of zeroing in on that. So we're not going to dig nails today. Let's just go for some mid tones and some high tones. And as you can tell, if you swing it smooth and you don't be banging it around, it's pretty stable. All right, so we got us all right, we got a conflict of interest here, so we'll just be, oh. So now we're getting around 68 to 70. Notice how on the fringes of this target, so now we got something right here. But we got something over here too, so you got to watch that. You need to try to get real short sweeps and start isolating your targets. And that's where recovery speed comes in. Alright, so we finally zeroed in right here. So I'm not going to pinpoint, I'm going to do a technique that I use, which is just to figure out where this is just by getting shorter and shorter sweeps and still getting the beat both directions. So I'm going to say it's right here. And it's kind of a lower conductor, maybe a fishing weight, something like that, wadded up aluminum. So let's see if we can figure out what this is going to be. Now this yard is plagued with cottonwood roots. It's possible we could get down here and never be able to recover this. So let's open this plug up. We'll start out with our Garrett Pro Pointer. So we got it right here in the side. And there it is. Okay, so that signal ended up being a pull tab off a can. So let's see if we can find us something else. Alright, so we're getting the lawn chair. We're going to have to head this direction. There's some low tones, iron. All right, we got a just take it slow and easy on these things. Now, either I got short thumbs or this thing may be a little too far forward for some people, because see, my thumb don't quite reach the pinpoint button, but I can make do with that. Another reason I brought y'all to the lake house, I knew it'd be easy digging out here. All right, so let's see how close we got. All right, we got it in the plug. It's gonna be up here in the middle. There it is. Got us a fishing sinker this time. All right, we got Chris trying this thing out, and he had something isolated over here. All right, Chris says it's right here. Let's give her a look. So that's pretty close to where he pointed. Maybe off a little bit. Try one more scoop. See if I got behind it. Ooh. I'm seeing something down there. Is it too dark for y'all to see it? What did you find, Chris? A sprinkler head or a water nozzle? Yeah, it's right here. We got the end of a water hose. All right, so let's sum this thing up. It is a decent entry-level machine. You shouldn't have any trouble with it if you follow some tips for dealing with machines that are entry level. It's the circuitry. So when we're dealing with recovery speed on the higher end machines, they can really pick through the targets. So if you're thinking about getting this machine or an entry level machine of any kind, there's some things that can maximize your success. But what you want to do on these machines is you want to be very deliberate in your swinging, and you want to do it slow and smooth, because they do get some falsing. So if you're swinging, just keep it slow and steady, and keep that coil an even space off the ground. Try not to bump it on these the lower end machines. And then when you do get a signal, that's where the deliberate part comes in. You need to slowly isolate that. If you can get this machine to give you a signal in both directions, if it just beeps one direction or gives you kind of a chattery signal and it will not give you a signal the other way, it's most likely trash. Now we're talking about beginner level stuff here, so obviously if you're experienced, you know to dig it all. If you really want to know what it is, you're going to have to dig it out. But the key when you're starting out is to stay motivated. Try to maximize your trash to trinket ratio. You don't want to go out and dig a bunch of trash, or you're going to get discouraged. Also, you need to really practice your pinpointing. And if you can, the closer your swings are, if you're still getting that tone both directions, the closer you are to zeroing in on your target. Now, if you're having trouble pinpointing stuff and you're digging big holes trying to find one penny, you're going to get discouraged. So you need to practice pinpointing and getting these targets out of the ground as easy as you possibly can, because the faster you go from target to target, the more motivated you're going to be, and the less likely you are you're going to ignore signals because you're like, well, I don't want to dig this. So the better you are at pinpointing and recovering, the more interested you are and the more motivated you are going to be to dig even the iffy signals. And as you get more experience, that's what's going to happen. So remember, slow and steady. Keep that coil an even space off the ground. And when you get signals, you want to zero in on them and get the beep in both directions. And hopefully that will get you started and keep you motivated so you don't just throw this in the closet and get discouraged. So in summary, yeah, it's a good entry-level machine. This is the Dr. Otek MT-XR. We got a yellow one. You can get whatever color you want. Right now, if you follow the link in my description, they're having a pre-sale event. So by following that link, you're going to get $60 off. I think these list for $199 and get $60 off of that. Follow the link and give it a try. And we will see y'all in the next video.